Okay. Okay, we'd like to welcome Justin Thomas into the interview room here at the Charles Schwab Challenge. He is making his fourth career start at this event, first since 2022. Justin, welcome back to Colonial. If we can get some thoughts on being here this week.
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I really like this golf course. It definitely is one of those events. I think a lot of people would play if it fit the schedule more, and given the beginning of my year, what it looked like, and starting when I did, with the potential of adding other events, and this one was definitely one that I had circled that I really wanted to add and play, and worked out nicely. So I'm, I haven't seen it since the changes. So obviously it's a lot softer and a little bit more wet than the last couple of years. But yeah, happy to be here, and it's it's a fun course, and seems like it's always had a great tournament.
You made your first start at Colonial in 2020. What a year that was. You finished tied for 10th. Any recollections of that when we started back?
For sure. I think at that point, everybody just was like, let's just play tournaments. And with how the season and everything went that year, it was definitely an event. A lot of people came and played, and it was, to me, this is one of those events that's been on tour for so long, and the history of the course and the tournament, that I've watched it on TV for so long that I kind of knew some of the nuances and knew of it before I got here. But then when I really played it, I was like, man, this is a great golf course, and I really would love to play here more often. So yeah, glad to be back.
And then you closed with a 65 at the PGA Championship, finished T4. What a Sunday that was for you. Talk a little bit about that, and then also what you've done the past week in preparations and relaxing, basically, probably.
Yeah, probably wasn't quite as much relaxing as maybe could have gone for, but yeah, it was obviously a great Sunday at the PGA. Was happy to give myself a chance and have a great round. It was weird to because it didn't necessarily feel like I was quote unquote in contention, but I very much was. I think it's very different of finishing when I did versus finishing when the leaders were finishing. It's quite a different feel, but to go out there and play the round I did when I knew I needed to was great. And yeah, last week just was really a couple of days off and then back to the grind.
All right, let's go. Yep, we'll start right here with Rex.
JT, I think you had 3+ hours after finishing up on Sunday at the PGA. Can you just walk us through what you did? Did you watch TV? Did you pack?
I got done and kind of was trying to figure out what to do. And my rental house was very close to the course, so I just went back with my family. My parents and aunt and uncle were in town, and we just went to the house and watched. I didn't really feel like, to be honest, sitting in the clubhouse and every person walking by and telling me what's going to happen or what do you think, and I just didn't want to have that conversation 45 times. So just kind of went back and waited and watched, and it was a lot. It was funny. I texted with a couple people. Like, the golf fan in me was enjoying, like, it was a really, really good tournament. But I mean, I obviously was hoping people weren't making birdies. So it was kind of a strange place to be in. But it sure as hell beat being on the flight home and not having to watch or care.
Going back to last November after the surgery, do you consider yourself a patient person? And if so, was that patience tested at all during the process?
Probably depends what it. In what sense? I don't know. That's a good question. If I consider myself patient, overall, I would say I'm fairly patient. I think sometimes more than others, but I had to be very, very patient after the surgery and especially the rehab. I mean, my surgery was so minor compared to what an ACL, a labrum, some Achilles, the stuff that's you're out for, 6, 9 months, 12, whatever. It's kind of like a pretty specific timeline, and so long before you can do anything. And so mine, compared to that, I can't imagine, because I was going pretty stir crazy, and it's just you do so much every single day to wake up the next day to feel the exact same. Like, you do that for a pretty what I felt like was a long time. So that sucks, to be perfectly honest. So the patience had to be very, very high, and you try to the best you can to look to, like, now, that all the stuff that I'm doing is going to pay off, but it sure doesn't feel like that when you're going through it.
Since Bay Hill, have you had sort of that epiphany moment where you felt, yes, the surgery worked, the rehab worked, everything I did paid off?
I mean, I'm definitely, I'm very reassured, and I feel extremely confident that I made the right decision, which is most important. But I felt like I made that beforehand, and I kind of, that was something I told myself, is like, I can't go into this if I'm not 100%. If I'm like, should I not? Should I try this? Should I try that? Because I could sit here right now and I could find probably hundreds of people that know more than me about it that will tell me what I did was stupid and why I shouldn't have done it. But at the end of the day, I could do that regardless of what I did, right? So for me, the biggest thing was talking to my team, but in myself, as I just had to know I had confidence and belief and faith in what I was doing was the best thing for me in my career. And that's, after all the information, everything that I had kind of gathered and talking, reading, whatever you want to call it, I felt like that was what it was. So it wasn't necessarily a moment after the fact, because I felt like I'd already kind of committed to that. But it's also not something of like, once you've hit that first driver and it feels good, you're like, okay, I'm good the rest of my life. I don't have to worry about this ever again. It's like everything. It's a process, and you got to keep working on it.
Right here, Jay.
So you mentioned the schedule with like the elevated events, the PGA Championship, the U.S. Open on the horizon. Do you guys ever feel obligated to play in some of these events, or how do you choose like this one instead of last week, or is it like maybe the city you're in, or how does that work?
Everybody's different. I would say the first and foremost, most important thing that a lot of the top guys, anybody that's in the majors, you're going to, at least I would think, is what's going to prepare me the best for the major. So, like I've had success in majors when I play the week before, but playing San Antonio the week before the Masters, for me, doesn't feel like that's getting me prepared as much as possible for the Masters. Therefore, I don't play San Antonio. I had a year where the PGA, when I was at Southern Hills, I wanted to play the week before at Byron Nelson. It's easy travel, and I played the week before. So, like, it's very situational when you play, don't play, in that regard. But I really, really, really try with all my might to not do 4 in a row. 4 in a row is like I'm not fun to be around. It's very taxing. So I try to cap it at 3. And yeah, there's a lot of great tournaments. We're very fortunate to have to miss some great events, but you have to at some point. So just kind of start with the majors and then fill it in here and there, I guess.
So this is your first time here since the renovation.
Mm-hmm.
You've been out the Pro-Am today. Do you have any thoughts on changes that you're noticing?
Yeah, it's definitely it's different. It feel like it plays very similar in terms of clubs you're hitting off tees. The shape of the overall maybe bones of the hole, and I think there's just some tweaking. Obviously, you have some holes like 8 or 16. 13 that are very, very different, but for the most part, it is very similar to what it was. I think in terms of, do I like it better now or before? I think there's some kind of combination of it. I think the greens are definitely lower. You have the ability to run it up on the green, which I didn't feel like you had before. But I like what, some of the greens feel a little smaller and the contours are very subtle. So, I like it, at least what I've seen, but it's also been very, very soft. And I could see when it gets firm how difficult it could play.
Last thing, so since you're in the area, have you had a chance to go up to PGA Frisco, or have you been there yet to check the venue out for next year?
I have not, no. Yeah, I'll probably, deal with that next year.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, Randy, over here on the right.
For me, it's cart path only is what it means when it's wet like this.
Yeah.
It's dreaded. But for you, what does it mean? How do you change your game?
When it's wet like this,
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. And obviously the amount of money and the changes they did, a lot of it out here was for the conditions of the course to be better. So, like the fairways, I was shocked at how firm they were. Outside the fairways and some of the low spots of the course seemed pretty soft and wet still, but overall, I was very, very impressed. But when the greens are soft, I mean, it's just more of it just requires less. It requires less strategy, less thinking. You can get away with more. It's easier chipping. You can get away maybe with some poor iron shots that, whether they would be landing on the green and going off, or the ability to get the ball up and down because the greens aren't as firm. So, but that's always the case. The softer the greens are, the easier it's going to play for us. But with how it's firmed up in the last day or even 12 hours, if they're fortunate to not get rain the rest of the week, it should be pretty good by the weekend.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Yep. One more, Jay.
Okay, since the SEC is talking about the playoff, the college football playoff and all that, expanded maybe to 24, what are your thoughts on that? Because I know you're a big Crimson Tide guy.
It just seems ridiculous to me. It's like everybody's always mad when they're not let in, and it doesn't matter how many you do. There's always going to be teams and people pissed off that they're not let in. I think you got to draw the line somewhere, but everybody, no matter how many teams are let in, there's always going to be some that got robbed or got screwed. So I think that's a dangerous game to play, to just keep making it bigger. But NCAA just wants to keep making that money, so they're going to do what they can.
All right, Justin Thomas. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.